envision 3 female attorneys coming together to have our voices heard. Each of us would have different opinions, different passions, different backgrounds, and different views. Although we are different and unique, we are able to come together to discuss our experiences, navigating through the legal profession and this thing called life. Now, the vision has come alive, and we invite you each and every week to listen to us as we talk about what's trending in the news and our legal insight, tackle real-life issues that affect not only us as attorneys, but us as women of color. Hi guys, and welcome back for episode 2 for No Further Questions. Before we get started, we have to go through the logistics of having to provide the disclaimer. Disclaimer. This podcast is intended to provide entertainment and general information. The information provided and the views given are not intended to constitute legal advice and should not be relied upon as legal representation. All views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not represent the opinions of any entity whatsoever we are affiliated with now or will be affiliated with in the future. So now we got the disclaimer out the way. Welcome to No Further Questions, our episode 2. Yay!
Yay! We made it.
We survived episode 1. So I'm Brandy. So hello everybody. And to my right,
I'm Samantha. Very nice to meet you all.
and to my left,
I'm Taria. I came back again.
I know.
Yay,
Happy to see
Taria.
her. Yeah.
Was a little concerned about that.
A little bit concerned she wasn't going to come back. So how the rest of our episodes are going to start going, now we have to be grown-ups and big girls and start talking about these little legal issues that's going on because we are a lawyer podcast. So our first segment is going to be the docket call. So let's talk about what's on the docket, which we're going to talk about and hit the Me Too movement. That's a very trending topic. It's very popular in today's culture. And so we want to start there. So everybody knows about Me Too. The creator of Me Too, I don't know if a lot of people knows about that, is I might butcher her name. So, help me out. Is it Tawana Burke? I've always said it. Is it Tawana or Tarana? Tarana Burke. She is actually the creator of the Me Too movement.
Gone, girl.
Yes. Black girl magic all the way. And what a lot of people failed to realize is a lot of people didn't know she was an actual creator because during the time the hashtag came out, Alyssa Milano was telling everybody. So y'all know Harvey Weinstein had his issue, came out.
Has
because he's still going through.
Okay.
Harvey Weinstein has his issue, and Alyssa Milano went on Twitter and told everybody to be like, hey, if you went through a sexual harassment, sexual assault, then you hashtag Me Too. Well, Tarana's thing was like, hold up, I've been doing this before she has. Let's give her props.
Yeah.
So now, the original creator, so everybody can know, is Tawana Burke. And then just with the help of social media, the hashtag Me Too was formed. And Tawana Burke is also, she's a activist for women's rights. And she's been helping women who are victims of sexual assault for a very long time. So let's give her props. But let's delve into it. Let's talk about it. What's your thoughts? What's going on?
Sam, we'll divert to you first.
Well, I think the Me Too movement is just a phenomenal movement. I'm glad that they were able to pull back the curtain and give Ms. Burke her props on this. But I do think that Hollywood did an excellent job of shining light on some of the dark areas and what women have to go through. Because it just kind of spread. It started off as Harvey Weinstein and it kind of trickled down into other professions and other areas. And women aren't afraid to say, hey, this happened to me too. And it doesn't just talk about rape or sexual assault, but it also talks about sexual harassment in the workplace, which I know a lot of women experience on a day-to-day basis. What do you think, Taria?
Good old Me Too.
Let's talk about it.
Well, I do agree. I'm glad that this has been brought to the forefront and people are really understanding what's going on. I actually was having a conversation with one of my coworkers today about Me Too, and he brought up a good point about the blue collar versus white collar, right? So from the white collar, we hear so much of the white collar woman's perspective, and how they know the proper steps to take into getting their name out and to making that company know what's going on, versus a blue collar woman really doesn't get a chance to really kind of fight her fight because she needs to keep her job.
Right.
Right. So there are some downsides of stepping up and saying, hey, someone sexually harassed me. Most of the time it's an upper person or a boss of some sort. So what do you do in those situations where you are a blue collar and you need this paycheck? So what about those women and those men and what's the movement doing for them? Because I think those are the people that are kind of lost in this whole movement, is the blue collar workers.
I never thought about that. That's a good, honestly, I've never thought about the blue collar worker in a sense, because we're always dealing with our professions, and I guess our professions are considered more white collar professions. And you hear that, just like in the Me Too movement, they're Hollywood people, they're, now it's like doctors and lawyers or, people, executives that are experiencing that. So that's a good, thing. And that is a question. Like, what do we do for them? Of course we want to fight for them just as equally because they're going through, but to stand up, they probably might get more easily retaliated against versus white collar. So that's, I like that. We just got to figure out what to do.
I think you should definitely start with human resources, regardless of whether you work at McDonald's, which you may drop some fries, but don't forget that they sell 100 million burgers a day, so they have an HR, and you're able to file a complaint. Now, for some of those people who work in smaller private entities, I think that that's a little bit harder. For example, if you are the paralegal or the attorney and you work for a small firm who has 2 or 3 lawyers, and you have this attorney who is the owner who is making those allegations, but the courthouse is always open, child, and
yes, it is.
And you could always file a lawsuit. Just make sure that you are documenting correctly. And then also you have the EEOC as well, where if you're being discriminated against or treated poorly, especially if you fall under some sort of whistleblower act, where if this is something that's reoccurring, you have those options too. So,
well, we're definitely going to come back to that and delve more into the legal side of that, because, the question is, it sounds good that I can go file a complaint with EEOC,
right,
but a lot of people be like, well, how do I do that?
Right.
Or is it free? Do I have to pay filing fees? So definitely later on in the show, we will definitely talk about and provide them general tips to guide you at least some direction for white collar, blue collar, any collar, if you're going through that. And also more with the Me Too movement. I know y'all done seen, and I'm going to go there. Y'all ready? Wait for it. Surviving R.Kelly. Did you watch it?
I stopped watching it.
Why?
Who is R.Kelly? We now know him as Robert.
He ain't Aura.
Robert.
We ain't call him Aura no more. We ain't doing Aura no more.
I don't know an R.Kelly. I'm unfamiliar.
Ooh.
No, I watched it. I watched all the parts, and I can honestly say that I am no longer a fan of R. Kelly. Now, I suggest, because the man's catalog, okay, his catalog is amazing. He is a musical genius. But I suggest that Trey Songz or Chris Brown remake that music so I can listen to it again, okay? Because I'm not listening to R. Kelly.
What about Usher or Neo? Why we had to go to Chris Brown? Or
Well, I was trying to speak to the younger audience, but let's be clear, okay? I'm a Usher girl.
Yes.
I am not a Neo girl.
Confessions.
But I'm a Usher girl.
I guess my issue with R. Kelly,
Robert,
is
He
that
ain't Aura no more.
it took this documentary 6 parts for people to understand and know what's been going on the whole time.
I don't say understand. I feel like we always knew.
But no one did anything.
Right.
And that's my issue. I'm a black woman, And this is not just a great tan. I'm actually black. And I just feel like we as a community, we skirted past some issues that have been there for a long time. I stopped being an R.Kelly fan when the video came out that I did not watch, Mom. I stopped dealing with him then. But people were still dealing with them, and it's not until Lifetime decides to go profit, and these women whose settlement packages are probably all done now, needed extra money. Now we've understood, and now we know that R. Kelly has been sexually harassing, abusing young girls.
And let's talk about the real issue with what's happening. R. Kelly is on the back end, okay? He is not going half on a baby anymore. He is not making hits. So now it's okay to put his music to rest. But when the video came out and the girl, 15 years ago, R. Kelly was still at the top of his game. And so a lot of people just kind of look the other way on this situation. Now, I never seen the video, okay?
Was him.
I only heard about the video.
It was him.
But I can honestly say after hearing multiple women make the same allegation about an individual, something ain't clicking up there, Robert. Okay, you need some help.
Well, and I think that's the great part about the Me Too movement, right? Let's take Robert Kelly out of this for a second because he's a celebrity, right? So he's going to get the shine, and those women are going to get the shine that they need. And TMZ and what's the woman attorney who represents everybody?
Gloria Allred. My
she will represent everybody.
Love her, girl. Get your coin, Gloria.
But I appreciate Me Too for the basic regular people, right? We're regular folks. And so I feel like this movement gave those people, those women who have been hiding behind the shadows, going to work every day, going from abuse to harassment every single day and having to go to work because they don't think they have an out to go to. Right. And that's what I appreciate at the movement is that they gave those people the voice.
Right. But it still goes back to what you said originally, too. Yes, it gave them the voice, but now it can also, I feel like it's being overshadowed because again, when Miss Burke started the Me Too movement years and years ago before social media hashtagged it, it was celebrity status. And yes, it gave you the voice, but I feel like it's getting lost into regular people like us or like the blue collar or whatever because of the fact that every single day you hearing a documentary on R. Kelly and somebody Harvey Weinstein, and then you got Russell Simmons, and then you got the Today Show people, Matt Lott, all of that. And I get it that we're not celebrities and it's going to be known, but I just feel like it gets mixed and lost in Hollywood part of it. So but as we will definitely keep talking about Me Too, let's talk about something that people really ain't talking about as much. Let's switch over to the Him Too movement. Let's talk about the men's side.
Yes.
What about this male perspective? How do we feel about that?
So Him Too movement, it kind of got a pickup from these two brothers who created it when Justice Kavanaugh, was trying to be sworn in as Supreme Court Justice. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are familiar with, there were some allegations about sexual assault that he had committed when he was in undergraduate, I believe, or high school and some other things. And so it started as hashtag Him Too, which really represents when you didn't, and I'm not saying he didn't do it, but this is what the hashtag stands for, is when you are being accused of rape or sexual assault and it's not true, because you have one side where and I think Brandy kind of touched on this just a little bit, as far as when you have these allegations and they kind of take on their own identity, but sometimes these allegations aren't true or aren't with merit, and finding that go-between, because as a woman you constantly want to stand behind your sister, right? And you constantly want to support your sister. But we also know as women, where I've had people, friends or whatever, colleagues, they lying about certain things, about being pregnant or this happened or that happened, and that it's not true. So where is that line? Anybody?
Because you do have an issue where I know, I think it was like a year ago, maybe. It's either 2017, 2018, where this, I don't know if it was in college, but I remember like this white girl was accused this black boy of raping her, and it was false. And it's like, does she go to jail for that? Because his life is ruined. I mean, you can't come back from it. That's hard to something to come back from if a girl is saying, you know, I've been raped. And then you go through this investigation and turns out it's not true. So should she face some type of consequences? And then you have it's also hard, like you said, it's being tied up in so many things. Like, you know, we have friends, cousins, and families that are males. Like I want to protect my little cousin, my male cousins, and I tell them all the time, don't you touch that little girl. Don't you talk to that girl, you know, because any girl, you know, because you don't know what she's going to do, what she's going to say. Right. So should they have consequences? I personally might be against the norm. I think if a girl does falsely accuse somebody and it has been proved, because I'm not victim shaming in any way, but if it can be proved, then yes, you need to face some type of consequences because you just ruined that boy's life.
Yeah, like the woman with Emmett Till. You know, she came back and said years later on her deathbed that she was lying about him whistling at her.
And he lost his whole entire life at the age of 14.
Yep.
No, I think that causing them or making them have criminal consequences is great. That totally makes sense to me.
Right.
I just like making criminal accusations if you're the man or the woman and you know, sexually assault somebody, there's consequences to that. And I think for every action, there's consequences. And from the male perspective, Brett Kavanaugh, I don't think is the best example of him too. But that's just personally me because I actually believed her. I know I'm not in the norm in that.
I still believe her, but
I think when you look at, you know, Terry Crews example, or you know, there's these other examples, the one that you just gave, Emmett Till. Those, yes, you know, those men still deserve their time and their story to be told.
And what do you do with that? Because going back to false allegations, like I know. I believe his name is Sean Oakman. He was a defensive end at Baylor, and he was high as far as an NFL prospect when he was about to graduate, and in 2016, and he has spent his last 2 years of his life, 2 or 3 years, fighting false rape allegations, and he ended up getting a not guilty. But now he's 27 years old, and he spoke to an article about him having to sell his bowl ring to pay for the attorney. The attorney was $60,000 and then another $60,000 for trial. And him just talking about, you know, now, okay, it was a not guilty, but he's 27 and his profession may or may not be willing to pay what he would have earned 2 years ago. I mean, is that a civil suit against?
Absolutely.
And that's a great way to go into our next topic, legal tips. What we do, what we doing. So is it a civil suit?
Absolutely.
I think it definitely is a civil suit. I would even ask for the DA to probably push for a false police report at that point, depending upon what the evidence shows, to support my civil case.
So then so we're suggesting civil suits. Okay, so everything that we've talked about, we've suggested civil suits. We said EEOC complaints. I mean, all these great little fun legal terms that people really have heard but don't know what to do. So what do you do? So yeah, with the false allegations, a girl lying on this boy, or, you know, a female is at work and she's being sexually harassed and she is just at her wit's end. Like, what do you do? What can we do, or what can they do in order to move the process along, to find some type of justice? Like, what steps?
Well, I think
where should we start?
You have two different routes, right? You have the large company route. So you're in a big company. You work for McDonald's, or you work for Transoceans, or you work for some major law firm.
One of
Those
Forbes
are easy,
1,000.
Right.
You have human resources, your HR person. Everybody knows who HR is. The person who you go and talk to about vacation, pay stubs.
Yeah.
I'm late.
Yep.
Right.
Benefits.
Uh-huh.
That's your HR.
I think that's who you if you're in a big company, that's who you go to. You go ahead and you go and make your complaint there, and let HR do what HR does, which is go and investigate that complaint. Now, from the small perspective, that's where it gets dicey, and I think that's where the whole blue collar issue comes in at, because now what if I don't have an HR? What do I do? And
What
I think
if it's Joe Blow, who's the
Exactly.
owner, and he hired his cousin, girlfriend, sister,
Exactly.
brother, ain't he? Mhm.
And I think at that point, you kind of just, you make notes and you keep your notes with it. And then you kind of decide, do I want to say something risking my job, or do I just sit in it? And I think that's a lot of times what people do, is they sit in it until it gets so bad they have to leave. And once you go ahead and make that complaint, either big job or small job, there is a chance that there's going to be retaliation. And that's just where they're going to more than likely tell you, hey, we heard your complaint. However, this is not the place for you to stay any longer. And you'll be fired, and you'll go and try to get your unemployment with the Texas Workforce Commission, which is TWC.
Yeah.
Right.
and you
so
hope they don't deny it.
but they probably will. Right.
Right.
And so when they
There's a
deny
appeal
it,
process.
You appeal.
there's your appeal process. And so you can go to the Texas Workforce Commission, which is the TWC, or you can go to the EOC, which is Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. And either route that you go, it's the same process. You're going to file a formal complaint just saying, this is what happened to me. This is why I think I was falsely fired. Help.
Yep.
And then those two agencies, the Texas Workforce Commission and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, they both have employees there that can kind of be your advocates, and you go through a whole complaint process with them. They'll take your statement, they take the company statement, and then they take their time and they work up the process.
Yeah.
And then if they feel there's nothing there, you can still appeal it. And that's where lawyers are typically getting involved.
Right.
And you're trying to see if there's a place for me to get some of my back pay. And that's where a lot of times when you get into these sexual harassment lawsuits, where if you get lawyers involved, a lot of times you can either settle right out, or you can go through a whole lawsuit. And I know a lot of cases where once the investigation came out, people not only got money from when they were fired wrongly, but they got back pay, their back benefits. And so there's tons of opportunities there. But I think the first step really is deciding, if I make this claim, can I live with the consequences of making this claim? And unfortunately, blue collar, it's one of those things where,
well, you know what? And one thing that we didn't mention too is when we talk about blue collar, depending upon what type of blue collar you're in, you may have a union.
that's true.
Yeah.
And if you have a union, go ahead and visit your union, because they typically have a legal team, or they contract out with different lawyers who represent people in the union for different issues. So I would start there. And then I would also start when you're making that decision, because, many moons ago, I used to practice employment law. It wasn't my thing. But I would suggest to you documenting and using little buzzwords when you document. For example, if you're a blue collar worker and you're working in the law office and something happened, you can send an email or a text to your boss saying, hey, I just want to let you know what happened yesterday made me feel really uncomfortable. I would like to schedule a meeting to talk to you about it. Because that lets you know when you go down to the EEOC, or you go down to wherever, a lawyer's office, an employment lawyer's office, which you can do as well, that you have some sort of documentation letting them know that I told my employer that this action made me uncomfortable, and that I have some sort of documentation about what was occurring.
Read receipt on those emails.
Yes.
To make sure that the
Yes,
person
read
read
receipt.
it. So I agree with that. And I didn't answer one of your questions. EEOC and the TWC is free.
Yeah.
So you can do that for free on the internet.
Yeah.
We love free.
We love free.
And it's a good place for you to start for free.
And you can also check out your local legal aid. There's very different volunteer services, and we're here in Houston, so you can check out the Houston Volunteer, or just go to your state bar. You can go to the state bar. They got a lawyer referral service.
Yeah.
A lot of attorneys like to do free pro bono work, and they like to provide free. They'll give you free consultation. But I like what Taria said. My thing about it is, don't sit too long and wait. If you're experiencing this situation, we gave you some helpful tips. We talked about what's going on. If you're actually experiencing this, don't sit on it. Make it happen, because the longer you wait, the worse it can get, and you can't fight these battles on your own. And I understand you trying to get that paycheck, you want your coinage, you don't know what's going to happen. It might suck in the present, but in the long run, it might make sense, especially if you have a good case. And again, document.
And you can also visit just a private employment lawyer and go to a consultation if you really feel like something is happening in the workplace where it's creating a hostile work environment for you, or you're being sexually harassed. You can go, and your job doesn't have to know. You can go and let them know, like, this is what's occurring, and they can just give you some tips and advise you on what your case is and what you're looking at, and give you just some legal tips.
Yeah. So on a fun note, we always like to end our episodes with something fun. In 2019, we're trying to figure, these are the things that it's called I Rest My Case. This part of the segment means things that's going on that we don't want to hear about it no more. Leave it there. We're going to bury it. It's going to die. Stay where it's at. So I know Samantha has one that she would love to talk about, where we're going to rest the case.
Okay, so I would like for everyone to rest their case when it comes to providing misinformation on social media. What do I mean by that? I mean, stop killing off people before they are dead. It's not cool. No, it's really not cool.
They thought he was dead. Okay.
No, he's been on life support. And we're referring to John Singleton. Rest in peace to John Singleton.
R.I.P. John Singleton. But all morning, I was on my phone and seeing messages that he had passed away. And then it was like, he is alive. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Is he dead or is he alive? And I can imagine for family and for friends, colleagues who are not readily available with him, that can be very unsettling. I did read where Diddy, I think, had his children's cell phones disconnected when Kim Porter passed away, because he did not want them to be able to see it on social media first. So what I'm saying, and this is not just for when people pass, this is also when y'all giving out legal advice and y'all aren't lawyers telling people know your rights and
Google
rights
lawyer.
be wrong.
Google lawyer.
Wrong. Rights be wrong.
Kim Kardashian lawyer.
Okay. Don't shade Kim Kardashian.
Right.
Okay. So just stop putting anything on social media. Fact check. If you want to be a reporter, part of reporting is fact checking. I'm gonna need for you to do some background checks, some fact checks before you just put anything on social media.
Taria, what we put in the rest?
Okay, so since we're talking about Me Too, victim shaming, right? So,
Look, snapping.
I know. I go and I say I've been sexually harassed, and then someone tells me, well, it's because of what you wore to work that caused you to get sexually harassed. If your dress would have been longer, if your boobs would have been smaller, you wouldn't have had those issues. And I think that that's another reason why people have not come out. It's just they don't want the shame that comes with me telling my story and me asking for the help that I need. So can we stop victim shaming people this year and just let them have their story?
And you know what? The worst part is it's women shaming other women.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, what is wrong with y'all?
I agree with that.
Tell me it's okay if I want my boobies out and my skirt up to my thigh. So
or if he wouldn't have laughed as much, then he wouldn't have.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sociable.
Yes.
Like, that ain't my fault. He think I'm funny and he don't think you funny.
Exactly.
Right. I've never been in a trial where a rapist was like, well, I wasn't a rapist until she was wearing that short dress, and then I just became a rapist. Like, come on.
Right. Exactly. So no more victim shaming people.
So victim shaming, killing folks off before they dead on social media, and I'm gonna say oversharing on social media.
Ooh.
Stop putting all your business
Right.
on social media.
Hello.
I'm tired. I am not that person that is entertained about your husband, your baby daddy, your baby mama, your wife. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Like, I don't care about you trying to kill yourself and you want everybody on social media. No, I care that you're trying to kill yourself, but you put it on social media. I say just go get help. Or if you're trying to do something elaborate, just go. I hate to say it, just go do it. Like, stop putting it out on social media. Stop putting all your business on social media.
Yeah, that's true. Like
Everything. I don't want to see the fight between you and your husband on social media.
I just want y'all if y'all gonna overshare, y'all need to put like a thing on there, like a disclaimer. Like, if you had a miscarriage and you're about to show a picture of the miscarriage, tell me first, cause you just scroll and you like, oh, what is that? Oh my goodness, it's like that's a lot.
I don't think anybody's ever shared their miscarriage. The
Chris
picture
said
of them
Michelle did.
her whole miscarriage.
Yes,
the pictures?
yes,
She,
ma'am.
she did. Well, actually, it wasn't hers. It was somebody else's.
Oh, okay.
But she put
Never
the
mind.
actual
I retract
the
my
bloody
statement.
fetus
Wow.
Yes.
on Instagram.
Yes.
But on that note, I think that's a good way.
So no more oversharing.
Yes.
So we are resting. We are burying things in 2019. We are resting our case, oversharing on social media, victim shaming, and stop killing people off in 2019 until you get the facts. So thank you again. Tune into our next episode. We got more coming on No Further Questions. I'm Brandy, and you can follow me at Branjanae on Instagram.
I'm Taria. You can follow me at Simply Being T on Instagram.
I'm Samantha. You can't follow me. No, just kidding. Hi. I don't know my Instagram name. Sorry, guys. I'll say it next episode.
But also follow us on social media, No Further Questions, on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. So we're going to keep it popping even when our shows or episodes are over. Thank you. And subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, everywhere else. See y'all next time.
Bye.
Peace.